Hey, good morning, Phillip. This is a demo video for you for your first three of the four Sabers. The fourth is a creepy Uncle Master chassis that's been sort of installed before. So I need to break that down and I need to kind of redo the stuff that's been done, and then those take a little bit. But these I was able to get done mostly yesterday and this morning. So I wanted to hurry up and get you a demo for them. Okay. The first one is the Luke Eco from KR Sabers. This is something that we'll go over last because I have a few things to say about this, just install wise and just general care. Right, so we'll put this off to the side. I also have your 89 Sabers. This is the new Fallen. Right, it's got the new pommel, so this is really cool, but we'll go over this one as well. And then I have your custom Flagship that was etched and powder coated and wrapped by my buddy and fellow smuggler Pete Sandoval over at Bad Batch Etching. We'll just go over this one first, just because it's the way I picked it up. Right, they're all installed with Proffies. This one obviously Proffie as well. 2 buttons set up, so I gave you a main switch here for your activation, and then I like to come over here on this side and put a little hidden brass tactile switch here. So you can see it doesn't stick up very far at all, but it's very easy to press with your finger. You probably don't hear that, but it has very easy actuation. All right. How you get to the chassis, obviously, you just want to unscrew the handle. We'll take the handle off real quick. I noticed on the etch, Pete had done like a Jedi symbol on one side and then, Sith on the other. So I tried to match that with the chassis, right? You'll have that same emblem from the shroud over here. And then when you swap it around, you've got, again, the same emblem from the shroud over here on the chassis. Removable battery setup, so spring side over here. 28mm Smokers Outpost Elite speaker. Your Proffie board. You can get to your SD card and your micro USB from right here. You never have to move the board. Okay. These all have the stock font packages on them for now, minus the Luke Hero or the Eco rather. You sent me a sound font for that this morning. I went ahead and I put it on there. All right, so we'll throw a battery in this guy. Snaps in there nice and tight like it should, and then you just go ahead and throw the handle on. Sometimes with these stock fonts, a few of them don't have a pre-on when you put the battery on, so I just hit the power real quick as a sanity check, but everything's working fine. Come over here and hit activation. So your LEDs are lighting up like they should. You do have CC Sabers in all of these, minus the Luke Eco because it came with a kit. Auxiliary over here. And I gave you twist off. We'll go ahead and we'll throw a blade in this guy, and then I'll show you that everything is firing up like it should. All right. Takes a 1-inch diameter NeoPixel blade. I may not even use the blade retention because it's pretty tight in there, but your blade retention will be right here. All right. But yeah, everything's firing up. Good flash on clash. Blaster bolt deflex. Blade lock up, holding down aux and hitting the saber. Nice and loud. You want to change colors, you can do that. Just hold down aux and hit the power till you hear that audible cue, and then just twist the saber through different colors. If we like that color, we'll hit power. Now we got that color when we turn it back on. One more sound font.
Smooth gray.
Nice shine through in your windows. And twist off just like that. All right, we'll go ahead and take the blade out of this guy and move on to the Fallen. So to take the battery out, it's very easy to do. Just go ahead and take the handle off, and from the positive side of the battery, which is always going to be over here by the speaker. You should be able to pop it out with your finger just like that. I did lightly weather this chassis. I chose to go with a gray PLA for this chassis and then lightly weathered it to hopefully match the Saber a little bit. So hopefully you like how that came out. I sent you some better pictures than what you can see on the video here. All right. So we'll just put the handle on and I'll set this off to the side. And we'll go over your fallen. This is a very cool saber. There are some slight differences internally from this one compared to, I think it's the V2 or the V3. I can't remember which is which. But on the outside, it looks the same minus the pommel. So the pommel already comes with all these greeblies on it that have shine through if you put a pixel accent back there, which I did. So we'll take the handle off real quick. Just unscrew it all the way and pull this all the way off. Set this off to the side. And here's what your chassis looks like now. So Proffie board, again, easy access to your SD card and your micro USB from there. Again, with a 28mm SO Elite speaker. And then I did put a pixel accent over here in front of the speaker like I like to do. All right, so I like to light that pommel area up. You do have a removable battery set up here. So your spring side here with all your wires hidden. And you had requested, this Saber came weathered already, but the greeblies were not weathered. So if you can see, you know, this one right here, and then this one over here is weathered. If I flip it around, you know, try to match the weathering of the Saber that was already there. So hopefully you like that. Okay, let's throw a battery in this guy as well. Your battery just snaps in there just like that. It is a tight fit, but everything does fit. Typically what I would suggest on your batteries is you take the stickers off. This is a brand new test battery for me, so I haven't got around to doing that yet. But I do kind of model all of my chassis around the sticker of the battery being off, and they don't typically work well. My chassis don't work well with battery wraps because I make everything super tight. All right, we'll put this handle back on. Couple threads, no biggie. Now everything is nice and locked down. Come over here. This is your power button, by the way, and your smaller brass tactile on the other side is your auxiliary. So we'll hit power. Again, CC Sabers in there. And then your pommel light up. I kind of made this like broken circuitry. If I can get a good, it'll flicker on and off. And it will be like that no matter what color your blade is. Unless you go through the color wheel, then that will change the pommel color as well, right? Auxiliary over here. And again, I gave you twist off. We'll throw a blade in here as well. This also, this also takes a 1-inch diameter neopixel blade. And I won't use the blade retention on this either because it is pretty snug, but your blade retention is right here. All right, so. Very solid. I'll go to another sound font. So as you can see, this has a green blade, but still broken circuitry over here in the pommel area. Just like that. Very loud. Again, lockup is holding down the aux and hitting the Saber. Like that. We'll do one more. This Saber is extremely loud.
Teensy.
White blade, blue pommel. Right. Just like that. We'll go ahead and we'll take the blade out of this one. Go over taking the battery out, and we'll go over your Luke Hero. So we'll just unscrew the handle, take it off, again from the positive side over here. If you can't get it out with your finger because this one is kind of tight, I just use the back of my tweezers or something like that and pop it right out, just like that. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll throw the handle back on this guy, and we will go over your loop. So the reason why I wanted to save this for last is because of the chassis that it came with. Okay, it's a nice chassis. It's the Goth Eco chassis for this. It fits in here very nicely. There are some things that you need to do in order to put the chassis in and take it out. I've got the chassis out right now. And I've got it right here. So this PCB that came with the chassis has got both your switches. It's got your two LED modules here. I haven't done one of these in a while, but the first couple of these, when they first came out, there weren't any resistors on the PCB. The resistors came separately. So it was really cool to see that the resistors had been added to the PCB, and you didn't have to worry about that when installing it. But you got your removable battery set up right here. You've got your KR Sabers 28mm speaker. You got your kill switch. 2 sets of stock V2s. So you've got one here and you've got another one here. What else do we got? And of course your Proffie, and you can get to your SD card and your micro USB. Stock font package minus the one font that you sent me. All right, and then I try to make it as clean as I possibly could. Now, the one thing I'll say about this chassis is, we'll throw a battery in it real quick. I spent more time sanding this chassis to make it fit into the Saber than I spent installing the entire Saber. I mean, I probably spent over, I spent a good amount, and it was more than installing the Saber to make it fit. First this part, and then lastly this part over here by the speaker. I needed it to fit tight so it would stay in place, because there's a locking mechanism when you put it in, but it had to fit, right? And it didn't fit at all. So what you want to do when you get this, before you put your chassis in or take your chassis out, you got to remember to do this both times. Slide your clamp card back. Your 2 switches right here, you've got one right here, and you've got one right here. They're on a spring. They're spring plungers, so just pull them out. And they look like this. Okay? You don't want those in when you're putting your chassis in or when you're taking it out, because if you leave those in, they could rub up against the switches and they could damage them. I've done that before. So the best thing to do, the easiest thing to do, is just to take those switches out completely before putting the chassis in. And we'll come over here and we'll flip the kill switch. Now you can see your 2 LEDs going. There's a groove on this chassis that you can see right here, and that lines up with, there's a little grub screw inside the Saber. All right, I'm going to take this pommel off. You can see that little grub screw sticking out, right here. So that needs to ride in the groove. All right, so we'll do that real quick. Super tight, but it does fit. All right. Just take your time putting it in. When you hear it click, then you have to turn it a little bit counterclockwise, just like that. Now you can see your LEDs in your control box. We'll go ahead and we'll put your switch plungers back in. A little bit of a process. It's not too bad, but just some things to look out for. All right, we'll put the clamp card back on, and I'll show you how that all looks. Whoops. So I had to slide the clamp card over the plunger switches, and now everything's good to go. And the last thing we want to do is just put the pummel on. Now that is something that I spent a lot of time sanding this guy to make sure that the pummel fit, because it's super tight on there too. If it's too tight, it's going to throw your switches out of alignment. All right, now, like when I first got this, it wouldn't even fit over the pummel. I finally got it to a place where I like it, but you have to be careful. You have to take that chassis and you turn it counterclockwise to lock it into the control box, but of course you're turning the pummel clockwise to tighten it down. So, if it was too tight, it would just shove it back into the off position, if that makes sense. But anyway, you've got your cave scene blinkies going on. until we hit power, which is in the front of the clamp card. Very loud. Auxiliaries back here. I gave you twist off. This is the sound font that you gave me. So to get to your soundtrack, what you want to do is just do a long press on your power. And do a long press to turn it off as well. Just like that. I set this up for a recessed blade. And I happen to have a recessed blade here. So let's test it out real quick. I made this for Darcy and I haven't sent it out yet. So we'll put this in. I'm going to be very careful with it. It's not particularly made for this saber, but it will work. All right. I'm not going to lock it down. I'm just going to kind of hold it. Turn it on. Blade lock up. One more time. And then we will be into the stock font package if we cycle to the next sound font.
Smooth fuzz.
Just like that. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll take this blade out, put it over here, and we'll go over taking this guy out. So it can be a little tricky. You just have to take your time. So again, we'll take the pommel out, or off rather, sorry. And remember, we turned the chassis counterclockwise last time to lock it in. So this time we want to take it, turn it clockwise. All right. It is stiff, but if you take your time, you can pull it out. I will say I was having a lot of difficulty when I was first testing this out, but the more I've done it, the more it's kind of worked its way, you know, loose a little bit, so it's manageable. And then you just pop it out with a tool because this is a tight battery socket and you won't be able to get it out with your fingers. All right. So that is basically 3 out of your 4 sabers for now. Let me know if you got any questions. If not, I'll hang on to these until I finish up that last saber and then we can get these out in the mail to you. Thanks.